Hello friends and sunflowers, my name is Lena and welcome back to my channel. I'm a hype theorist and today we're going to be talking about the first chapter of The Dark Moon, The Grey City. I'm really excited. Dark Moon, The Blood Altar is Enhypen's story. Dark Moon, The Grey City is Antium's story, and they are in the same universe. However, for the most part, it seems that Dark Moon, The Grey City will take place 20 years before The Blood Altar, and of course it covers the werewolves instead of the vampires. So, and boy, there's a lot to talk about in these first chapters. I read both the webtoon and the web novel, and we'll be covering both of the first chapters for that today. You can read the first chapter for free right now on both the webtoon app and on Wattpad. However, only the webtoon will become free every chapter. The Wattpad story, the web novel, will always remain locked for the future, except if you can read Japanese or Korean and potentially other languages, but for sure Japanese and Korean become free after. Why they don't make the English one for free? I have no idea. I will say the writing quality in this seems a little bit better. There's definitely still some past tense, present tense issues for the web novel. Maybe it was just because it was interesting to read, but I felt like this is the best written web novel we've gotten so far. But I only read the first chapter, and it does still feel like it's very, to the point, the writing doesn't leave a lot to your imagination. So, the first chapter of both of them talk about an inn, but only the web novel actually details anything about the inn versus the first chapter of the webtoon is actually a different perspective altogether. I actually don't even know how to tackle this. I guess I'll briefly talk about the web novel first, because I think chronologically it happens first. It's like a backstory to what we're kind of seeing in the webtoon. And this is a guess because I've only read the first free chapter at this point of the web novel. So if bullying, suicide, and isolation are triggering to you, this is a very difficult story. And I'm just warning you now because I'm going to be talking about it a little bit going into this because it's kind of the bulk of what's happening here. So just a warning, because it's kind of the bulk of what's happening in the story right now. So just a warning. But basically the web novel has this setup about how werewolves work, and specifically about Khan and how he was treated from the village that he grew up in. So he was found as a child who had been abandoned. He didn't remember anything, and he grew abnormally quickly. They mentioned having to give him new clothes every week, basically, because he was growing so fast. And then all these disappearances started happening. Dead animal carcasses started appearing in people's houses who took him in. So Khan, they thought he was like a devil, a werewolf. They locked him in a shed. They were abusing him. It is not pretty. They basically kept him in a shed. They fed him once every 3 days. They basically didn't give him water. They were hitting him. He was super locked up on the chains, so I don't even think that the things that were dying were him anymore after a certain point. I think that they just blamed everything on him because he was a scapegoat. He was easy, he was helpless, and so they could easily just be like, this is because of you, everything's because of you. They started calling him a devil, etc., etc. This is all in the web novel. This is the setup of it. It's really a dark story. And then this one couple sees this happening to him in the shed, and they're horrified because they look at him and they're like, you're literally abusing a child. And so they take him away from there, and then he suddenly is able to see the sunshine, and he, it's really heartwarming. And so he ends up living a more normal life. They have to move around a lot because he grows up really fast, but they're like, no, don't mind, doesn't matter. So this couple that adopts him and moves around with him, they move to the outskirts, kind of foresty area of Greyville. People live kind of far apart already from there because it's kind of an isolated spot, and so they're not too worried. They're more safe there, and it's not so suspicious at the current moment from how it's explained in the web novel. And they own an inn there, except there's it's an ongoing joke within the family. There's literally no one ever who stays at the inn. So, there's a few other things that we note. So beyond the fact that werewolves grow really quickly, which we had known previously from something, Khan, Kay's character, mentions can't taste anything unless it's got a really strong flavor, but he doesn't want to worry them, so he's like, oh yeah, get me the sweets as a little thing, as a treat. But he can't really taste it. It doesn't have a strong enough flavor for him, but he asks for it so that it doesn't worry the people who look after him because they treat him really nicely and really well. And the first chapter ends with suddenly a lot of bangs, and there's suddenly people who came to be guests at the inn. I'm guessing the guests at the inn are the other 3 werewolves and their parental figure. I'm guessing. Mostly because of the webtoon. So the web novel's chapter name was There Are Never Any Customers at the Grey Inn, and the webtoon's chapter name is The Children at the Inn 1. So I believe it's the same inn. In this first chapter of the webtoon, they even say that Khan is the son of the 2 innkeepers that they're staying with. So unless that's completely different, I definitely think this is just all in the same background. As usual, though, I do expect there to be differences between the music videos, the webtoon, the web novel, because that's how it works with Dark Moon, that's how it works with Star Seekers. So I expect Grey City to be much the same. Also, just as a general note, when I say Dark Moon, I mean Enhypen's Dark Moon, and when I say Grey City, I mean Dark Moon the Grey City, which is this story. I just feel like that's the easiest way to differentiate the two, because they're both technically Dark Moon, but there was the first Dark Moon and then the Grey City. You know what I mean? Anyways, so the webtoon, which is a different art style than I was expecting, my brain was like, oh, it's going to be the same art style as Dark Moon, but it's not. The Grey City's art style is a little bit different. I don't think it's bad. I like it more than the Star Seekers art style. Sorry to the Star Seekers. But it's maybe a little like sketchier looking, which I personally kind of really like that style, but let me know how much you like the art style or not for this particular story. I think it's probably the most different, because even with Crimson Heart, like, the art style it didn't even occur to me that it was a different art style, but this one feels visibly a different art style, and maybe that's because it's supposed to be in a past timeline, so they went with a very different artist for it. I don't know, but I do really like the art style. I think at first I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, you know what? I really like the art style, just personally. So it opens up with 3 wolves, who I assume are EJ, Nicholas, and Taki, Tahel, Najak, and Enji. They're the ones who are also in the webtoon for Dark Moon. It starts with them, and they seem to be eating some kind of bird. It doesn't really show it. It's not showing, like, the blood and gore the way that Crimson Heart and Chaco have a lot more of the actual, like, detail. This one seems like it's like suggesting it without showing it, so that's nice. But basically this guy is recording them and they attack him. The only thing that makes me wonder about this is the fact that they attack him, because in the moment, like, directly after this, where they're talking with a person who I assume is their parental figure, guardian, he says, never ever harm others. So while I originally, when I was reading through it, thought, oh, those wolves that they're showing are them, when you compare them to the, like, end part, I think that it's a different pack of wolves. So I think there's 3 other wolves that are killing people. It might be a different pack. I'm guessing it is, because we do know there's, like, a pack that maybe is headed by Yuma or something like that offers his hand to Kay in the music videos. So I'm wondering if maybe it's them, or if there's, like, another pack. And then there's also, like, the pack that Kay must have originally been with that dies. I don't know how they come into this at all, because in the backstory that we have for the Grey Inn, it doesn't even talk about, like, anything about him being in a pack where he would remember it, especially not where he would remember it and also be a teenager, because he would have been a tiny child at that point, like a tiny child. So don't 100% know who those wolves are, but especially when you compare it, the backs of the wolves is a little bit different. I'll put up the pictures here, the comparison. So the 3 that we know are these 3. So these ones are Taki, Nicholas, and EJ, and then these ones are the weird shadows that we don't know who they are. Could possibly be another pack. I don't know. I'm not sure. We don't know yet who they are, but they do look a little bit different. Anyways, so these 3 mystery wolves attack some guy who is recording him on their phone, which I'm assuming is someone will find him and find the recording of the wolf attacking them, because we do get, like, that one shot where he's got the phone lying on the ground and it still seems to be lit up. So I'm guessing it was still recording. Can you imagine having to watch that footage? Oof, that'd be rough. Anyways, and then we also get something interesting. It says, Chapter 1, Wolves in the City, Episode 1, Children at the Inn 1. There's a lot of ones. So there's chapters, and in each chapter there's there's episodes, I guess. So this is episode 1 and chapter 1 of their story. So chapter 1, Wolves in the City, and then whatever chapter 2 is called. I'm guessing that's the encompassing chapter, and then this specific one is the Children at the Inn. Which are, in fact, the 3 wolves that we do know, Tahel, Enzi, and Najak, or, Nicholas, Kay, and EJ. Not Kay. Nicholas, EJ, and Taki. Each of them starting with the corresponding first letters, thankfully, which is not the same for everyone else. We have all the names released already, but whew. Anyways, so then we catch up with those 3. So they're being sent off to school here in Grayville. The Grayville School, I guess, is what it's called. They're being sent off by their parental figure. I'm guessing the parental figure is a wolf of some kind named Geety. But yeah, and then we see the elderly lady who runs the inn, who we know is the one who adopted Khan before. And then that's when they also say, like, oh, I heard the innkeeper's son is going to the same school. Yeah, his name was Khan, so we do know same person. They do also mention they like the village and they want to stay here, so they have the same problem as Khan probably when he was a kid. They need to move around a lot. Enzi's attitude is hysterical in this, by the way. He's like, yeah, whatever, I'm listening to you. I won't fight, I won't get into trouble. So maybe they did attack him. I don't know. You can let me know what you think about that. Anyways, they discover something awful, honestly. Beware, the devil's buried here, LOL. And buried underneath the sign is Khan. Did they try to bury him alive? Oh my god. Like, okay, wow. Bullying is a major issue in Japan, and probably I think is in Korea as well. And people who associate with the people who are being bullied will also get picked on. So most people will pretend they don't see it, or they will go along with it because it saves them. So having that context, I think, is really important for why Khan acts the way that he does in the whole chapter, and also why everyone else is telling them, hey, don't talk to him. Even if you know it's wrong. It's just better not to do it. Just don't do it. Like, because you're gonna be attacked too. Which, by the way, that's a really shitty situation, and it sucks that that's a thing that happens, but that's almost certainly what's going on here right now. So that's why when they pull Khan out of the buried dirt, Khan walks away because he knows they don't actually want to associate with him. Like, thanks, but I'm just gonna drag you down with me. He's got that kind of like, oh, it's my fault, like everything's my fault kind of defeatist attitude, because of all the bullying he's been subjected to previously and now again. Obviously some kind of event has happened in between, I'm guessing. Something maybe with the other pack, not sure, but he's got this reputation being the devil, etc, etc. We also saw that in the music video. Also, 10 out of 10, love Nicholas for being the one to pull him out, and he's like, this is ridiculous, I can't believe people are treating you that way, etc, etc. Nicholas's character, 10 out of 10. Great guy. And then they get to the school, and Enzi tells Tahel, like, oh, don't make it obvious how much of a dork you are. Like, you gotta be cool. Which I think he takes to heart, even though Najak's like, stop telling him something weird. So, yeah, they get shown around or whatever, and literally during the time they're being shown around, Khan's already getting picked on again, and they're dumping, like, a soft drink on him, and the guy who's showing them around is like, oh, they're performing an exorcism. The hell? Bro, like, that's disgusting. But again, Najak, always the one to dive in. I love his character. He's the one who's like, hey, this is wrong. Why are you attacking this guy? He will stand up for you. I love that. Of course, though, Khan knocks off his hand. He's like, this is awful, like, leave me alone. Like, just go. He doesn't want the help because he knows the help will be bad for the person who helps them. Probably someone tried to help him in the past, and they, you know what I mean? And then the person who's showing them around, I guess a class president or something, is like, I should tell you a rule. Don't bother with that guy. A rule. He doesn't say, like, I have a suggestion for you. He says that it's a rule. Just don't talk to him. Don't associate yourself with him. That's insane. Anyways, we cut to Tahel, who people come up and say hi to him. He's like, oh, hi. And he's like, hey. He's just trying to be cool, I guess. And they're like, do you know Khan, basically? They ask. And he's like, what? No, I don't really know him. And they're like, okay, good. Like, just leave him alone. If you keep being nosy, you'll be screwed too. So, again, this is what I was saying. Like, this is a mindset. It's like, if you mess with the people who are getting messed with, you're also gonna be screwed. So, they're like, oh, if you don't want to get bullied, maybe don't hang out with the person who's bullied, which is so shitty. Meanwhile, in Najak and Enji's class, who I guess are the same age as Khan, they're like throwing things at him and giving themselves points for hitting him. And they're like hitting him and stuff too. It's just, it's gross behavior, basically. Interestingly, what's happening here to Khan in the webtoon is really similar to the beginning of the web novel before he gets adopted into the people who own the inn. In the web novel, there's a line that says, "Driven by trepidation, nobody noticed how cruel or cold-hearted they had become." So they didn't realize how bad they were actually becoming doing this. Seems almost the same. They might not even really think about, oh, this is actually an awful thing to be doing to someone. This is just things that people do. And that level of normalization is very concerning. Wow. And again, Najak is trying to talk to Khan, who's like, don't, like, mind your own business. Like, don't talk to me. I think Khan is, again, trying to actually defend them from him, like, because he is the one who bears the brunt of everyone's scorn. And Najak gets threatened by the other students. They're like, hey, like, you should know what side you're on. Like, don't pick that side. That's stupid. And meanwhile, Enji's examining the desk, which we saw in the music video as well. It's, like, got really just awful stuff engraved into it and just trash everywhere. It's just not great. Cuts to, like, later, I guess, in that evening or just at some full moon. It feels like it's immediately after, so maybe it just happens to be a full moon. Like, why isn't he standing up to defend himself? Like, he's just taking it. And they're kind of baffled and they feel bad because, like, what? And then it reveals, oh, they're the wolves. They're wolves. Like I said, I do think they're different wolves, potentially, from the ones that we saw in the beginning. But then we have the reveal, oh, they're wolves. These humans, they talk about these humans, these other people. So, what do we know? Khan is already a wolf, I'm guessing. I was a little confused when I had the reaction that I did to their, like, trailer for this. But I'm pretty sure Khan was already a wolf. He just joins their pack. He's currently a lone wolf, but they don't stand for that in wolf ideology. I guess they always are in packs, right? So if they see someone who is a lone wolf, they have them join them, right? So I think that's what's going on here, or what's about to happen, although I'm assuming it will take several chapters. The bullying is absolutely awful. Like, horrible, horrible stuff. Like, I can't even imagine people just treating anyone that way. That's awful. And that could be really triggering for people. And as we actually saw in the music video, like, Khan was standing on the rooftop, and I hope that if you're reading this story and you're okay, just know that, like, you can find people to confide in this, and that maybe the story can help show you that there will be people there for you, even if you don't expect them to be there. I think we have to remember that Hybe, when they were originally big hit, their slogan was music and artists for healing. So they want to talk about difficult topics like this, like bullying, and help people who have gone through that or who are going through that, and reminding them that there are ways to heal from this. There are ways to move forward. That's why I think they want to deal with these topics, because their ideology as a company for Hybe was about trying to heal and, you know, move forward and be better people. And that's what I think this story is going to have a huge focus on. So, yeah, sorry that got really serious at the end there. Okay. Whew. Okay. This was an emotionally hard chapter to read, but I really am looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. I like found family as an idea and a trope concept. So having people, like, come together and form close bonds, and so much so that they call each other family, is like, it makes me, it feels really wholesome to me. So I'm kind of hoping that we can get that with the future of this story, because we do know that they do become close, and I feel like this is going to eventually lead to better things. But yeah, and then there's the whole mystery of, I'm sure that we'll see the vampires starting to appear, possibly other wolf pack issues. I don't know. There's going to be stuff going on from the supernatural side as well. But yeah, this is definitely talking about, like, several things at one time. Including, I think, there's a parallel to the idea of, oh, you were cast out of one place and then had to go to another. Because especially the original 4 in Anteam, who were originally from Island, they didn't end up making it into Enhypen's team. They were in one place, they were almost there, they almost belonged, and then they weren't really cast out necessarily, but they just ended up not being the finalists, right? even though they were talented. And so I feel like there's like a bit of a parallel with that as well. They moved from Island onto the And audition show before forming And team. So there was like all these steps, right? You were originally, well, rejected is the word I'll use here. You were originally rejected from one place and you moved to another where you found your family, I guess is the way to think about it here. Your team, your And team. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I feel like this is kind of a weird spot to leave off on, but I don't really know where else to take this video. But yeah, if you did enjoy it, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so that YouTube tells you every single time I post a new video. All of my social media is linked in the description down below. I also want to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. If you want to become a patron, the link is in the description down below. As it is, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay sunny, everyone. Bye!